Hey everybody, this is Will hanging out at NAMM 2022 with Brad in the ILIO booth. Thanks for being here. We're hanging out, we're having a good time. We're looking at some different products. Next, we're gonna look at two brand new plugins from Overloud that I'm super excited to see and hear more about. So Brad, take it away.
Sounds great, okay. And we'll take a look at several highly treasured vintage effects, processors, that have been polished to a new level of sonic brilliance as part of the exciting GEMS series of plugins from Overloud.
Cool.
Specifically, we'll focus on their two new products, which are called EQP and Modula. Okay? And both of these are high-quality sonic performance with faithful, detailed emulation of the original hardware units, which we'll get into in a second. Perfect. And these are easy-to-use tools that offer impressive new features beyond what the original hardware can do.
Great.
All of this is with low CPU usage, which means it'll work with your current system. If it's new or you've had it a while, these will work.
Perfect.
Without extra dedicated hardware.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. So we'll start with Modula.
Okay.
This includes three of the most iconic modulation units in music: Dimension, Ensemble, and Symphonic. I see your head nodding.
See where we're going.
You see where we're going with this.
I love it.
And these are available in a single plugin or as a standalone application.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Okay. So we'll start with Dimension. This provides a soft organic modulation that works with a variety of sounds, but it was actually the go-to unit for vocals in the 80s and 90s. You can also give a full mix increased space without adding reverb.
Great.
Okay. So here's just a little loop that I've got. This is without the effect.
Wow.
Without. Okay, great. So that's Dimension.
Okay.
Let's move on to, this is Ensemble.
Okay.
The Ensemble circuit was included in a super popular line of string machines back in the day. I had one, and I can see that red LED lit because I always had it lit.
That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. It adds stereo depth, is well suited to synths, pads, strings, and soundscapes. Okay, so again, here's dry. Without, with. By the way, there are a series, or just a whole bunch of presets built in here.
Okay.
And they're labeled Dimension, Ensemble, Symphonic, and by application. Some are for drums, some are for synths.
I like how some of them are labeled by how you most likely will use them.
Exactly. And again, those are starting points.
Yeah.
So you can customize them, save your own, user library of things that you prefer. Okay. Well, let's go to Symphonic. Here we go. Same little piece of music without. And with.
That's great.
Dry. Okay, so the Symphonic was the classical digital chorus of the 90s, and its three-voice modulation design with sine wave LFOs delivers sweeping, heavy modulation. You can really hear that.
Yeah.
It was well known as the Zakk Wylde and Mike Stern guitar chorus back in the day. It's also great for vocals and synth tracks. Okay, so that gives you kind of the lay of the land of the original hardware. Let's see what else Overloud has provided in terms of extended features. Things that the originals didn't do.
Great.
Now, all of these extended features are available in all three of those other units. Okay. So the first thing is this dual button. I click it, you see it gives a separate version of the unit for the left channel and the right channel.
That's awesome.
This allows you to enhance the stereo effect by slightly different settings for left and right. This little link icon here, when you click it, brings up all the parameters that you can control when the box is checked, when moving one parameter adjust it for left and right.
Yeah.
When it's unchecked, you can do it independently for each channel.
Okay.
Makes that really easy. Okay, the next thing is a drive function down here, the bottom left. This allows you to push the input stage into saturation and drive some super musical harmonics. So for pads and that kind of thing,
Yeah.
it's a real nice way to add punch, bring them out of tracks, etc. Down here along the bottom are 2 bands of parametric EQ built in.
Okay.
And because it's built in, you can sculpt the tone of the signal without the need for complex external routing.
Yeah, that's great.
Also, it becomes saved with each of your presets. So if you go back, either for a live performance, you got a gig next week, you want exactly that same setting, you can call it up. That's
awesome.
right.
That's
or
great.
if you're in the studio and you want to mix again down the road, you can pick up exactly where you left off.
That's great.
Down here along the bottom is something called stereo width. At -100, it collapses the stereo signal to a mono.
Okay.
At 0, it gives you the stereo width of the original unit. And at +100, it expands to twice the original stereo width.
Okay.
Okay? More colors for your
great.
tone palette. Then this whole series up here are called envelope-controlled parameters. And all of the main parameters can be dynamically controlled by the input envelope to breathe with the input level. EDM music comes to mind, you know, where you want that synced. And you can sync the modulation to your DAW,
Okay.
so that it's
That's great.
it's good to go.
That's great.
That gives you an idea of Modula. We're halfway through this demo.
Wow.
Okay. Any
It's a
questions about this one before we move on to EQP?
I mean, I'm tempted to say this is a perfect solution for pad players because that's where my mind first goes. You know, a keys player looking for a pad. I have an old Juno. The first thing I do is turn chorus on and leave it on. You know, it's a great sound. While I'm tempted to do that, I am also seeing the possibilities of putting that on vocals, on guitar, thickening guitars up. So many possibilities.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
You know, I think we as playing a particular instrument kind of get set like piano centric or keyboard centric.
Right.
We kind of think that way, and maybe guitar players do too, and vocalists, because that's what we know.
That's right.
But if you are recording and you're doing multiple tracks with multiple sounds or instruments, whatever, give it a go.
That's
I mean,
great.
you can see with the low CPU usage, you can have multiple instances and not be bogging down your
that's
CPU.
great. And for live use, the low CPU thing makes me happy. I'm
Huge.
happy with that. Yeah, that's great.
Awesome.
Okay, so what else do you have for us?
All right, so we're going to move into something called EQP.
Oh, I like that interface. That's great.
So this represents 3 of the most iconic passive EQ units in a single plugin or standalone app. And it uses the latest technology to create the most realistic and accurate emulation available today. It's inspired by the classic EQP 1A. For those who know what these are, the MEQ5, you go, oh yeah, and the HLF 3C. Okay. And then Overloud extends the capabilities beyond what the original could do.
Great.
So we'll start here at the bottom with the low and high. This is for people who are familiar with the EQP 1A, they'll recognize this portion of the interface right here. So I've got a simple drum loop here, and this is dry. Okay, so the EQP 1A features 2 bands of individual boost and attenuation parameters, which you can see right here, plus an additional treble attenuation control up here. And the attenuation parameter, this is really interesting, is centered on a frequency above where the boost is.
Okay.
So let me show you what that looks like here. I'll turn this on. You can see that as I boost up here, and then the attenuation starts to, it's just above that frequency. So what this is doing is increasing the depth and resonance of the effect.
Okay.
And this was on the original unit. This is part of the signature function or sound of these units. Okay, so I can turn the low cut or the low and high on here, enable or disable.
Okay.
All right, we're going to move up to this middle unit, which offers 2 boosting bands and 1 attenuation band. This is a great tool to add warmth to and body to vocals, guitars, sax, things in that frequency range.
Okay.
This is a great way to do that. All right, and then over here in the bottom third, since your folks aren't seeing that at the moment, but they'll know where to go.
Yeah.
It says high cut, low cut.
Okay.
And this is the HLF3C. And this is another fully passive circuit that allows you to tailor the bandwidth in a very musical way. Let me enable it so the light goes on, and you can see that it basically rolls off high or low, further shaping. Okay. So just dipping a little further under the hood really quickly, the original tone shaping circuits, passive design gives them their desirable character, but at a loss of level. So the original hardware units have an input stage transformer and an output tube amplifier that adds super musical harmonics to the transients, and it gives it that signature sound. Only the EQP plugin from Overloud uses their exclusive harmonic matching technology to recreate this deep, distinctive character with obsessive accuracy. Because there are other emulators out there, but this is different, and that's why.
That's awesome.
Okay. I said, see where you're boosting it. So up here in the very top part of the rack is a real-time EQ display that the originals did not have. Okay. And this lets you easily monitor the frequency response curve you're creating in real time. To the right of that is a programmable clipper that lets you enhance the transients and add punch to your recordings. Again, it has the resizable graphic interface.
Yep.
So you can make it fit your display for stage or studio.
Yep.
And this little arrow, the curved arrow, it has multiple levels of undo and redo.
Oh, that's huge.
So when you're mixing, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but I get lost in the tree trunks and kind of miss the forest sometimes. And I go, how did I get here? This lets you back up to where you go, okay, that's where I made my mistake, and go from there.
That's good. And that's a huge feature because we so often get in the studio and we spent 2 hours and realized what we started with was better than what we ended with.
Exactly. Yeah, we've gone down yet another rabbit hole, right? Okay, so in summary, Overloud's GEM series plugins deliver sterling sound quality with faithful detailed emulation, enhanced features that go beyond what the original units can do, and all with low CPU usage that allows multiple simultaneous instances without additional hardware.
That's great. That's great. That sounds, again, the low CPU, you had me at low CPU for live performance.
Hopefully with the sound quality.
That's right, yeah. Well, and I think it's easy sometimes in a world of endless options. Sometimes we think, oh, we have a drum sound. The way to improve it is drum samples and this and that and that. But you see in the example you gave of even just some basic EQ and some tone shaping. And for me, visually looking at this, you may not know what these controls are, but when you visually see that and then you hear it audibly, you go, oh, that's what I get.
That's what's going on. It's very intuitive.
For folks that are interested in this, Brad, where can they go to learn more?
Well, for more information or to download a free trial version of this, visit ILIO.com.
Perfect. There you go. Guys, thanks so much for watching this, Brad. Thanks for your time yet again. If you guys want to learn more about this, check out the link in the description that Brad mentioned. And then also, if you want to see the rest of our NAMM 2022 coverage, I've got a link in the description as well too. You see everything that we've got there. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Take care, everybody. Bye.